Welcome back, one and all, to Scramble Drill. I'm Josh Johnson, and over there is my good buddy Ben Watts. And week 6 has come and gone. Lots of things to get into from Sunday. We are waiting the Monday games, but how are you feeling about the teams at this point in the season? We got a nice 6-week sample size, so nothing is like the small samples. We know what we know now about all these players, and there's some weird things and there's some awesome things, but how are we feeling about fantasy football at this point in the season?
I'm pretty good. I feel, there's some teams that have got some potential. I don't feel like I have a truly dominant team this year, really, anywhere. I've got maybe one team in our log dynasty league. That team's looking really good.
Yep.
But everywhere else, I usually have just pretty solid teams everywhere. So, overall, I feel good. This was a good week.
It's so funny you mentioned the log team. Well, first of all, this week, I think the whole parenting thing, like I'm just, I guess, distracted. I don't know, but I dropped the ball.
You made a boo boo.
Holy smokes, dude!
You're actually welcome because I texted you about this.
Well, it ended up not helping. I still made the mistakes.
You did.
But in 2 separate leagues, I made lineup mistakes going into the weekend. One of them was like real bad. I left Anthony Richardson in the quarterback spot. It's a Superflex league. I left AR in the quarterback spot. I had Brock Purdy play in the flex spot on Thursday. Now, I should have known. Rule number 1, get the guys that play early games out of your flex spots.
Always move Thursday night players out of flex. Always.
And I should have known. But Anthony Richardson was a surprise scratch early Sunday morning, and I was literally SOL with having no other quarterbacks available to go. Patrick Mahomes was on bye. I had 3 quarterbacks on the roster that were active, or I guess I had 3 quarterbacks on the roster you could play that had jobs. Anthony Richardson wasn't playing, so I literally had 1 quarterback in Brock Purdy in the flex spot, and then in my quarterback spot, I had legitimately nobody I could play, and there were no starting quarterbacks on waivers.
Mac Jones was about to go in the starting quarterback spot.
Genuinely. And Mac Jones recorded, I think, 3 points?
He completed a pass for 6 yards.
There you go. That was about to be what I was getting. And so I had to make a trade and acquire Joe Flacco before game started. I gave up a second-round pick so that I could have a starting quarterback. And it didn't matter because I still had that team's worst performance in 2 years. It was a disaster.
How does it feel to have to pay a second-round pick in a dynasty league for 1 week of Joe Flacco? That has got to be one of the worst feelings possible.
It was disgusting. I got a third back, but I basically lost a round in a rookie draft for 1 week of points that ended up not mattering. I made the trade just hoping to hit the median. I was like, I don't know that I'll win the matchup, but as long as I can hit the median, I can justify it. I'm not going to hit the median. It's just bad all around.
You need a big game from Breece Hall tonight to get you there, which could happen. It could happen.
It could happen. The other debacle was in the Granddaddy of them all. This is, less bad, but still bad. I forgot that the Jags were playing at 9:30 in the morning, and so I logged on after having the morning cup of coffee. I'm chilling, holding the baby, relaxing in the living room, pull up sleeper, and I go to switch out. Who was I switching out? It was Travis Etienne for Terry McLaurin. And I go to switch him out, and Travis Etienne is already locked because the game has started. And then Travis Etienne goes out and scores negative points, and Terry McLaurin has 20. And that 20 that Terry McLaurin would have scored, or did score, would have won me the week. So I'm just thrilled.
Again, it's another, you actually do still have a chance in the league. It's not a good chance.
It's a bad chance.
But it actually it's counterintuitive than what you would think because you need a big game from Breece Hall in Log to get you there, and you're actually facing Breece Hall in the granddaddy of them all, so you need Breece Hall to have a bad week there.
I'll be honest, I think I would rather have the big Breece Hall week because I'm not going to win in Log regardless. I think there is what is it? I need Dalton Kincaid to outscore Breece Hall by like 19.
You'd rather have the bad Breece Hall week so that you win in Mully and lose in Log.
There we go. That's what I meant.
Because you're not going to win in Log because I think Breece Hall has to outscore Garrett Wilson by like 20 points.
Yes.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think I need Dalton Kincaid to outscore Breece by like
2. Unlikely, but it could happen.
So I don't know. I dropped the ball this week.
I'm disappointed in you. I expect better.
These are amateur mistakes. Like
there's some guys in these leagues
football
that these kind of things don't shock me from. This surprises me.
Yeah, no, there are some individuals where it's like the lineup isn't set, and you're like, okay, that's just every Sunday.
Players on bye. Well, he hasn't looked at this app in 3 weeks, so
right. But dude, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. I had gone in and set lineups, multiple times during the week, and I had flip flopped. Like Terry McLaurin in the Granddaddy of them all was in the lineup at one point, and then I pulled him out. I set Tank Bigsby as a auto sub in case Travis Etienne didn't play at one point during the week because he was questionable. All this stuff happened, and then it comes to actually make the final lineup, and then I just biffed it.
Oh, I get like panic, not panic attacks, but like I get stressed. Like I check my lineup probably like 3 or 4 times on Saturday, like in every league to make sure I set the right guy, and I still am like, wait, did I get him in there? Did I put the right one in there? So.
Oh, gosh. It's brutal. There's a couple leagues that I genuinely don't care about. And so those lineups might not get set, and it's fine. Like, there are 2 or 3 that I actively check and, am really dialed into. And there's a couple that's like, you know what? I'm probably rebuilding. That's what it is. I'm probably rebuilding, and it literally does not matter if I score points or not.
Rebuilding is really fun, but the only sad part about rebuilding is you really don't care what happens on Sundays.
No.
There's no investment there. So as fun, I actually enjoy rebuilding dynasty teams, but it does take a lot of fun out of Sundays. Like, oh yay, Alexander Madison scored for me, awesome.
The brutal thing about rebuilding, there's one league where I have kind of teared it down to the nubs, and the problem is I have 2 very good quarterbacks. I got Brock Purdy and Jayden Daniels, and they are putting up like top 3 quarterback points per week in that league every single week. And then I have Josh Downs with Joe Flacco just killing it every single week. Najee Harris decides he wants to be really good again out of nowhere. And DJ Moore is still really good. And then it's all these random dudes like Raheem Mostert. He had a pretty good week there a couple weeks ago. Cade Otton is scoring touchdowns. Like it's randos that are scoring points. And I cannot get into the bottom 3 in points for to save my life.
It was really funny. Obviously, I just mentioned it to you right before we hit record on this. You sent me a trade in that league today, and it was like the quickest decline I've ever said. Like you were trying to get my first, which rightfully so you should, and I instant declined it because last season I hit the rebuild button, was actually kind of hopeful that my team would be good. I was even starting to potentially look at moving the first or try to push myself up in the top 5 teams, and the bottom is just falling out. Things are not going well. And I looked, draft order, at least for non-playoff teams, is decided by max points for. As much as you have tried to push your team to get that 101, you have more max points for than that team does for me. And at this point, I'm okay with it, but I'm actually still annoyed. I'm I was trying to win with this team, and it just has not worked.
It's so frustrating because I have nobody good. I'm starting Trey Benson every single week. He's scoring me 3 points a week. I'm starting the dregs, and for whatever reason, it's just not working.
You froze up there. I lost you for a minute.
Oh, brilliant.
Sorry.
I was just saying, it's just not working for me. I have nobody good, and it's not working.
Yeah. Well, I have good players, and it's not working, so deal with that.
Well, week 6 has come and gone, so we're going to react to all of the games from Sunday, and just, I guess, go game by game here and get our takes in for all the different things that have happened, because it was honestly a wild weekend of games. We had some wild stuff happen. Let's start here with the Thursday night game. So, in the context of the granddaddy of them all, I don't even know how to frame this. I feel like my entire team has been injured the whole year. It's just been what it's been. And I've been starting DK Metcalf week in and week out, which, has been okay. I mean, he's not been bad, but then he has 11 targets and he gets 3 catches on it, which is awesome possum. I traded you my first for Chuba Hubbard and Jordan Mason last week. And then Jordan Mason immediately gets injured.
He didn't
has
kill
1
you
carry in the
this
second
week.
half.
I mean, he did have like 80 yards in the first half, so it wasn't like a devastating amount that you lost out on, but it still sucks.
Oh, it was, yeah. It was not like it murdered me, but I guess the brutal part of it was the 49ers ran for 228 yards on the Seahawks. I have to imagine Jordan Mason would have had 125 plus if he did not miss, and most likely would have scored a touchdown as well. So there's that. This game stunk for me. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's tough when your fantasy players don't do well and your own team that you pull for gets their teeth kicked in.
Oh my gosh.
And that's just kind of what happened. The 49ers, everybody performed about like what you'd expect. Debo didn't have a ton of volume, but Debo, he's one of those guys, he can take any play to the house at any time. So 70-yard touchdown. Isaac Guarendo, I guess he's the locked-in number 3. If Jordan Mason never misses time, it's him.
Yeah.
I mean, Brock Purdy does his thing. Looking at the Seahawks, I don't even want to get into the receivers. Kenneth Walker, you don't see him have 8 targets very often.
You do not. But
that's
he's
a
been,
thing that
honestly,
happened.
He's been really good through the air this year. I need to pull up actually and just see running back leaders and targets. He's tied for 4th right now for running back targets. He's got 24 targets so far this year.
That's crazy.
That is pretty wild. You want to know who's number 3? This is a total aside, but
number 3.
Number 3 in targets for all running backs.
I'm going to say Josh Jacobs.
It is Javonte Williams.
Wow. Missed it.
And he's been cheeks this year.
He has had a floor. Like, Javonte doesn't pop off, but he's going to get you like 9 to 10 points because he catches like 5 passes a game.
Except for Sunday when he scored 3 points.
Okay. Well.
But you're right. For the most part, you're right. Yeah. Anyways, Thursday night was gross.
I like the uses for JSN. I mean, he keeps going up. I mean, he's a full-on every down player for them basically these days, which is great.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of mouths to feed.
There are, and I think we've said this several times. Like, the offense is more interesting than it has been in years past, but Geno Smith is not. He's just not super ideal for fantasy. Like, there's not a consistency there where either he targets one receiver a lot or is just consistently good. He has games when he stinks. He also doesn't target one receiver consistently. So you have games when, like, he throws 52 times and nobody's good.
True one.
Right. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Jaguars-Bears, the London game.
Boo.
Let's see here. Let's just go to the Jaguars running backs because,
That's what everybody wants to talk about.
yeah. So, Travis Etienne, 3 carries,
Sucks.
-1 yard, and a fumble.
He's apparently week to week now with an injury.
I told you yesterday that is amazing news because I've had Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne on a team, and I've never known I have known that Travis Etienne is not a good start for the past 3 weeks, but you honestly can't not start him. Now he's officially the point where you definitely can't start him, but you also can't really start Tank Bigsby when Etienne is healthy either. If Etienne's out, Bigsby gets really interesting. I don't know how you
the
feel
one
about
dynasty
that,
league I had Travis Etienne and I benched him, and boy was that the right call.
that was 100% the correct move.
Yeah. I mean, Bigsby, what's really crazy is Etienne, I don't think, played the second half, and Bigsby wasn't even the full workhorse. Like, D'Ernest Johnson was in there. I think he out-snapped Bigsby in the second half. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, man, it's wild times out there for the Jaguar running backs. I mean, has Etienne lost his job? He's got a shoulder injury, but that shouldn't affect like you finding running lanes. I mean, I granted some of that's on the offensive line, but like it's like every time he touches the ball, he goes nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, we know the offensive line is not great.
It's not great.
But you're right. For some reason, he is not great either. Like, he's not helping things. He's not making it better. I think part of the reason why the Ernest Johnson outsnapped Bigsby was, I misspoke earlier, Etienne did fumble, but they didn't lose it. Tank Bigsby fumbled, and they lost it. So I think part of that situation was that he fumbled in the second half.
Yeah, the Jaguars, they could just do nothing right this game.
No.
The only thing that went well was Evan Ingram. Welcome back to the starting lineup, Evan Ingram. In a bleak fantasy world for tight ends, you were a shining light this week.
He was just beautiful.
He was awesome.
I don't know if he came in at the expense of Brian Thomas Jr., but Brian Thomas had only 3 for 27.
I think I watched the game. I might be misremembering. I think Brian Thomas did drop a couple, and one I think was a touchdown he dropped. So
Trevor Lawrence underthrew him on a touchdown.
Yep, he underthrew him, and yeah, if I'm remembering correctly, I did remember late in the game, Trevor Lawrence hit him in the hands, and he just flat out dropped it. So
no, you're right. Yep, I remember that. I mean, it was a gimme, and he did drop it. So he could have had 4 for 35 and a touchdown, and that would have been great. But he ended up with 3 for 27 and no touchdowns.
Yeah, sucks there. But moving forward, I think the only guy I really trust here is Evan Ingram. I don't know how or where you feel about it, but I still would flex Brian Thomas Jr., but Evan Ingram is the only guy like I feel I can lock into a starting lineup anywhere.
I think Brian Thomas you can lock into a lineup still. He's the thing with him is he's had a fairly decent target share. He's been explosive. I feel like Brian Thomas is due for like, or I guess able to hit a 50-yarder any given point.
Yeah.
And so there's always that element of a ceiling game with him. And he's got a pretty decent floor as well, so yeah. I still think he's fine.
And it's like we said, like he actually still could have salvaged this game too, and it was actually just really his fault. So yeah, I'm not too worried. Chicago though,
yes, goodness. Caleb Williams, 4 tutties. It looked honestly incredible. He did have
breakout.
one. Yeah, I mean, the last 2 weeks he has looked like a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I don't think that's outrageous to say. And they're looking like it's going to be so hard for them to win that division, but I think the team looks like they are good enough to make the playoffs right now. I mean, they're 4-2. We're going to talk about Detroit later, but it's going to be so hard to beat them, even without Aiden Hutchinson. And obviously Green Bay is good, but gosh, and Minnesota is undefeated. It is tough sledding in that division, but they look like a playoff team right now.
Yeah, what's crazy is there's going to be an odd team out in that division. I mean, 3 teams from that division probably make the playoffs. I don't think all 4 will.
I mean,
There's
realistically, as it sits right now, I think 4 of those teams, they're like 4 of those teams are in the top 12. All 4 of those teams are in the top 12 overall NFL teams right now. That's just crazy.
Right. It is insane. There's going to be a team, though, that once you get into all those divisional games, it's either going to be, honestly, it's going to be either Green Bay or Chicago that just isn't able to handle.
Not everybody gets to make it.
There's going to be a team that's like 8-9, but like a really, really good 8-9, and they just didn't get it done in division. And it'll be, it'll be what it'll be. But Cole Kmet, 2 tutties. Keenan Allen, 2 tutties. DeAndre Swift was excellent, 91 yards rushing and a touchdown. They figured out the run game.
My boy. Love him.
How you feel?
Love him. So happy. So happy.
Like, they were so bad running the ball early on in the season, but they have
I don't know what it was, but and maybe it was when they just had to get their feet under him with Caleb and get some things out. I still don't like Shane Waldron. I want that clear. But right now things are very much on the up and up for Swift and that entire offense, really.
Swift is up.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say Swift is up to the RB8 in PPR right now, and I think that probably is going to continue to climb.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say that was about to come down.
No, I think that could climb.
Okay. That makes me happy to say. I was going to say, though, the wide receiver room is definitely in a really weird place for the Bills, or not for the Bills, for the Bears with Keenan Allen back. The targets are kind of all over the place, which, looking at the distribution, is really good for Caleb Williams because it's shown like how much he's growing. He's finding different guys. He's, doing all this different kind of stuff. But it definitely makes it really hard to start anybody not named DJ Moore. And even then, DJ Moore has kind of, it's not a slump, but like his production's come down because, the ball's it's going everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no worries about DJ Moore. Keenan Allen's gone at the end of the year.
Yeah. Not for Dynasty, but like when all 3 of these guys are playing right now with a rookie Caleb, it's a little harder to trust him, though.
Yeah, I think we saw last week DJ Moore was dominant. Granted, they were playing the Panthers, but
you can't play the Panthers every week.
You can't. Well,
would be great if you could.
The Jags. You played the Jags. They're not far off.
No, they look terrible.
Cole Kmet is a really solid tight end, and he's having his best season. Once you get competent quarterback play, it's amazing what happens there. They have a lot of mouths to feed, but I'm still not worried. I guess it's just par for the course with this. Like, you sort of expected it a little bit with the rookie quarterback, but at the same time, he's playing really well. So I don't know.
We'll see. I am excited to see the offense as a whole moving forward. Like, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Cardinals, Packers. I know this one hurt you in a lot of different ways.
Oof.
Well, one way. It hurt a lot of people. Hurt a lot of people.
Sucked.
The Cardinals were trash, and Marvin Harrison got concussed, had a goose egg. Do we need to have a conversation about Kyler Murray?
Yes and no. I do think for the most part, like, he wasn't terrible today or yesterday. I'll throw a little bit of a bone to Kyler is because he doesn't really have a ton to work with. James Conner got hurt. Their offensive line is not great. He lost Marvin Harrison Jr. in the first quarter. Outside of Trey McBride, your best weapon is Greg Dortch.
Yeah.
Really? So I will put some of it on him, but I don't know. I think Arizona just as a whole is not a good team. I mean, he was also like never on the field, I feel like. I kept track of that game just because Kyler's always he's always a player that excites me. Like, I enjoy watching him and seeing him put up fantasy points, but like the Packers just dominated this game in every phase of the game. Like, they dominated time of possession. When the Cardinals were on the field, they were dominating. It just a bad overall.
Yeah, it was rough. And the Packers, they've got this knockout punch that is the Jordan Love knockout punch. And the Cardinals' defense just has not been super fantastic this year. And so you're going to have games like this sometimes where, and we've seen this, I think, now a couple times this year, where the Packers come out and they just throw touchdowns all over everybody's head. They did this. I mean, they lost the Minnesota game, but he had 4 touchdowns in that one. He's had multiple touchdowns in every single game this year. I mean, this is an offense that is so exciting. And I think with, like, Jaden Reed has 6 for 28 and a touchdown in this one. And you were saying that his target share has never been great, but it does not matter.
He's so dang efficient.
He's so efficient. Also, I just made a trade like 2 seconds ago.
I was literally, I'm looking at that right now, and Landon Hewell just texted me saying he doesn't like it for you at all, and I'm like, well, the whole point is he wants the 101.
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, here's the trade. This is a super-duper rebuilding team that isn't cooperating. It's not really doing its job.
I mean, I will agree. You probably could have pieced it out and gotten more overall value.
Yeah, probably. I mean, what did I send? Geno Smith, Najee Harris, and
Josh Downs, and a second.
For a first. Which today is the 105. But
that first is the 105?
Yes.
It will not stay that.
Probably not, but he has not been as good in the max points for as his record would tell you he is.
By the way, that first is not the 105. You have the 105 as it sits today.
Oh. Where am I at here? You're right.
Yeah. Now,
I have the 105.
You will fall behind me now. So you basically jump from the 105 to the 104, and you pick up the 106 as it sits.
I hope, man. I got some. I mean, Najee is not going to help me out in the long run.
The problem is you would have to drop every single player to get the 101. There is one team in this league that is so incredibly bad, it is not possible to be worse than them. You would have to get rid of Jaden Daniels and Brock Purdy to even potentially be as bad as he is.
Yeah, he's real bad. I mean, if I get to the
that's 102,
that's fine.
That's
if
how
I get
bad
to the
he
102, it is fine. I've got 3 firsts now, and I've got DJ Moore and Rashee Rice. I'm at the point where, and Trey Benson, I think, is a pretty good guy moving forward. So you got like one running back that I feel like can be very solid as soon as next year. So you probably need like 1 or 2 more running backs, another receiver, and then I'll just have to figure out tight end, and then we'll be good.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. I think you got a long way to go in that league.
Oh, I do. I'm going to have to make
to
it's this year and probably a little bit next year.
I got a long way to go too, but it's not as long as you.
No, I am trying so hard. When you have your first round pick and your team is not being as bad as they're supposed to be, sometimes I don't know.
You had one job and it was to suck. You're not doing it.
And they're not sucking. I got all these random randos in here scoring points. I don't need these guys to score points.
We'll see.
Anyways.
Where were we?
Colts Titans.
Also, Trey McBride is probably a top 2 tight end moving forward. Side note tangent. Done.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. What do you have? 8 for
8 for
what did he end up
97.
with? Yeah, yes.
He hasn't
two.
scored a touchdown either, and he's the tight end 4. And
Oh,
he
that's
missed
fantastic.
he missed a game, hasn't scored a touchdown. He's the tight end 4.
Where do you go with because Travis Kelce is in that conversation. Brock Bowers is also in that conversation. But it's those three, right? It's Kelce, Bowers, McBride in the order of your choosing.
I genuinely I want to say Kelsey's probably the one rest away from me, but it really is a tier 1 of truly pick whichever one you want of those three. I think they're that much farther ahead than everyone else right now. It's those three are like clear dominant tight end ones, and then nothing after that.
I think Kittle's probably in that same conversation.
Kittle and Evan Ingram could jump in there, I think, but I don't know. The way it's going right now, those three guys are head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, they honestly are. Colts beat the Titans on Sunday 2017.
Boring.
This was the no Anthony Richardson, no Jonathan Taylor, and an injured but playing Michael Pittman effort from the Colts, and they won anyway.
Josh Downs if Anthony Richardson ain't playing, you start Josh Downs.
Oh, dude.
Plain and simple.
He is so good when Anthony Richardson doesn't play. The problem is when Anthony Richardson plays, he doesn't get targets.
The Anthony Richardson needs to take one for the team. Him being out affects only the Anthony Richardson owner. If he plays, it affects the Anthony Richardson owner because Anthony Richardson has been very underwhelming this year. And it affects all the other owners of Colts players because he tanks their value.
Except Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is great with Anthony Richardson, and he's bad all the other times.
No one cares about Alec Pierce. Nothing personal against Alec Pierce. Nobody cares.
Yeah, fair enough. Will Levis did not hit 100 yards passing on Sunday, and Calvin Ridley had no catches on 8 targets, and he was pissed in the locker room afterward.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Did you see Will Levis is still on his generational run of memes? Did you see where he destroyed the ball boy's knee?
Yes. Yeah, they cut to it on Red Zone, and Scott Hansen is like, Will Levis just can't stay out of his own way.
Will, you've got to stop. This is 6 weeks in a row of something meme-worthy he has done every single week.
He obliterated that poor guy's knee. Every single medical professional in the stadium was on the sideline tending to that poor guy.
They're sitting there, we're going to have to amputate.
They're like, there's nerve damage.
He's never going to walk again.
Goodness. Other than that, I didn't have a lot to take away from this game, to be honest with you.
No.
That was a yucky 20-17. Texans, Patriots.
Really
no Nico
interesting
Collins, no problem. CJ Stroud has 3 tubs. Stephon Diggs is solid. Tank Dell is good now that Nico Collins is gone. And Joe Mixon's awesome. How about these Texans?
Man. One of the best teams in the league. There's no two. Now their schedule is not easy moving forward. They go let's see. They go Packers, which will be tough. Colts, yeah. Jets, yeah. And then Lions. That'll be tough, but man, they could win 10, 11 games this year.
On the flip side, Drake May made his debut, and honestly,
wasn't the worst.
I was fairly impressed with Drake May. I mean, he threw 2 picks, but he finished with 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 38 yards rushing. They got nothing from their running backs. Antonio Gibson was their leading rusher from the running back spot, had 19 yards. Drake May was the leading rusher. Yeah, garbage. But Pop Douglas was real good, had 92 yards and a touchdown. Kayshon Boutte had the touchdown. I don't know, man.
When I was super high on him 2 years ago.
I remember. I saw the highlight, and I was like, Ben is smiling somewhere right now.
To be fair, I did correct and was not high on him later on. But before the combine and all that other stuff, I'm like, this dude's legit.
Well, he looked legit for about 5 seconds on Sunday.
Yeah,
Turned in
nice.
a 40-yard touchdown.
I mean, it's about as good as you could ask for a rookie with Pop Douglas as his wide receiver one. I mean, really.
Yep.
Texans are a
like-
mess, and they're going to be a mess for a while.
This was against a good defense, too. The Texans' defense is legit. And, like, they played the Dolphins last week. That would have been the ideal opportunity to get Drake May in there because the Dolphins' defense has not been good. But instead, they make his debut against, like, a really solid team. And they got shellacked. Like, they lost by 20. But I'm coming away from that game going, like, okay, Drake May is not going to suck. And, like, I was concerned that the situation was going to be so bad that it didn't matter. Like, he wasn't going to develop, and he was just going to be terrible. And that could still happen, obviously. But I think for the debut that he had, I think you're pretty encouraged. Like, from a fantasy perspective and in real life, like, okay, I don't see any busts yet from these quarterback prospects from this past year.
Yeah. No, everybody's been really good. In Penix, we're not going to know for about 2 years.
Yeah, we won't know for a while. He's going to be 28 years old by the time we ever see him on the field.
When it's the Super Bowl, I don't care.
Hey, there you go. Bucks Saints. This was the fireworks show.
This was a great game. Oh, my boy
51 to
Spencer.
27.
How about my boy Spencer?
Hey,
Did the best
you know,
he could.
Wasn't half bad. They might have something in Spencer Rattler.
I mean, he lost Chris Olave, lost Rashid Shaheed. Bucks aren't bad. Like, I mean, it didn't
he
look any
ended up-
worse than Derek Carr's looked.
You could argue he looked better. I mean, he ended up, what is it, Bub Means scored a touchdown?
Yeah.
You ever heard of Bub Means?
I did not know he was alive.
Didn't know he existed. Yeah, Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave combined 2 catches for 16 yards.
And Chris Olave fumbled. Chris Olave, another. I mean, if you're one of the teams out there, there's teams out there that started Travis Etienne and Chris Olave this week. I'm sorry. That sucks.
It was brutal.
That sucks.
Chris Olave was part of my worst output in 2 years in the log team. Yeah, just super unfortunate. Especially when, and I would not have swapped him out. I mean, he was going to be going no matter what. But, like, you've got, I think I had Jamison Williams on the bench, and I was like, you know, what if, I had the thought, and it, obviously I never did it, but it's like, what if Jamison Williams scores against the Cowboys? Sure enough, he did.
We'll get to that game in a little while, but
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. How about the Buccaneers running backs? Because Bucky Irving has 14 for 81 and a touchdown. Looked awesome. But
he wasn't
really,
the dominant guy you thought we were hoping for with no Rashad White.
yeah, no, looked very, very good. But they bring in Sean Tucker, my RB2 in the
real
2022
ones,
class.
The real ones remember Sean Tucker.
Yes. I have been holding in that league that I just made the trade in that I'm trying to rebuild. I've had Sean Tucker on my taxi squad for 2 years. I've been waiting for it. And then Sunday he has 140 yards on the ground and a touchdown, and then 50 yards receiving and another touchdown.
He's killing your max points for in that league right now.
Well, taxi squad does not count for your
Yes,
max
it
points
does.
for.
I think. Pretty sure.
It does not. Which is the beauty of the taxi squad.
Are you sure?
I am 99% sure that your taxi squad is exempt from your max points for.
Yes, they do.
They count for your max points for?
I'm looking at do taxi squad players, and this is on like Sleeper's article. Yes.
You're kidding. I really thought they did not count for your max points for. He
Nope.
scored 34.
They do. That's going
Golly.
to sting a little bit. You're about to jump way ahead of me.
Oh my gosh!
It's going to take you 2 weeks to get your max points for down below mine.
I hit the median again this week, and I had Sean Tucker on the bench. Are you sure?
Yes.
You're kidding.
I'm serious. They count.
Oh gosh.
It is the absolute max on your roster if you started the best possible guy.
That's awful. That's absolutely awful. Now I hate it. I hate it here now. I never would have started him in a million years. He has not had like more than 2 snaps all season long, and he gets in there and he's awesome, and now I'm punished for it.
Now you got like the 107, Josh. How's that feel?
Ugh. Well, now that I lost value on this trade to get another first, there's a chance we could have rectified the situation just now.
It's going to take you 2 weeks to recover from this.
Yeah, that's why I did it early on in the season. We have 8 more weeks of sucking to help help fix the pick situation around here.
Anyways, Chris Godwin, awesome.
The wide receiver 1 in fantasy football.
Is he the one?
He is.
I knew he was 6
in
before
PPR.
going into this. We keep saying this. Landon and I have mentioned it, I think, 2 or 3 times on the Dynasty podcast. No one is ever willing to pay for Chris Godwin what he is worth, and you're never willing to sell him for what like somebody's willing to offer. He's always good. He's always good. Even if he's never like a world beater, like you can always flex him. Always.
Yeah, well, here's the problem with Chris Godwin is his last 3 seasons were 1,000 yards and 2 touchdowns, 1,000 yards and 3 touchdowns, 1,100 yards and 5 touchdowns, 840 yards and 7 touchdowns.
He got hurt that year.
He did. He's awesome, but like it's never what it is right now, which is dominant fantasy wide receiver stuff, and it's I guess partly because Baker Mayfield is on a run right now. He is on a heater, and everybody's benefiting from it. But Chris Godwin right now is, I think, by far and away having his best season in terms of fantasy football production.
And this one, I guess you could have kind of seen it coming because literally every time the Bucs play the Saints, Marshawn Lattimore locks down Mike Evans. I don't know what it is about those 2 guys, but Marshawn Lattimore has Mike Evans' number, which means Chris Godwin's going to be awesome. And my gosh, was he awesome this week.
He's got 3 top 10 finishes so far on the season.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't have his yearly top 10 finish, but I would imagine 3 is probably already tied for the most he's had since that wide receiver 2 season.
Yeah. No, I believe that.
He's been awesome. And it's not really been at the expense of Mike Evans. Now, Mike Evans is terrible on Sunday, but like you said, Marshawn Lattimore always seems to do that to him.
Yeah.
So there's that. But that was a fun game. That was a really fun fantasy game on Sunday. The Saints at one point scored 27 points in the second quarter.
Didn't score anything after that, but
that was all their points in the game. They scored all their points in the second quarter. Wowza. Browns-Eagles.
boring. Let's move on.
Yep, super boring. A.J. Brown's really good.
You start A.J. Brown, you start Saquon Barkley. Devonta Smith didn't have the target share he's used to having, but that's, I mean, A, the Browns' defense is really good, and B, A.J. Brown's back. I'm not worried about him moving forward. I have nothing to say about the Browns.
Browns are gross, putrid, disgusting.
I mean, Nick Chubb's coming back soon. They said, I think, next week.
That's what I have seen as well.
So, I hope he's good. That's all I got to say.
He who shall not be
Nick Chubb is
named
good.
is gross.
Yep.
All right, Commanders-Ravens. This one was fun.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to say about your favorite son, Jaden Daniels?
He's awesome. Love him. Absolutely love him. I love that man. I don't think anybody's ever going to pass Josh Allen, but he is flying up the ranks of my favorite players in general. Flying up the ranks.
So, funny you mentioned Josh Allen. I mean, he's been the dominant QB1 for so long, right? But so far this season, there are 3 guys that have been consistently like a tier ahead of Josh Allen. And obviously this is pending the Monday night game, but he will not pass these 3 pending like a 60-point performance. I think he is.
It's never out of the question for Josh Allen.
It's 60 won't happen. I mean, 30 is always possible.
We did get news that James Cook is out this game, which means Josh Allen might have to put the Superman cape on.
He might just. Baker Mayfield's been amazing, but nobody's having the serious conversation there. But Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson so far this season have been consistently excellent. Week in, week out. They are like a tier ahead of every other player. I don't really believe the whole Baker Mayfield thing. I know he's QB2.
No,
I don't believe it.
I will say I would consider starting I would consider starting Jaden Daniels and Lamar Jackson over Josh Allen. I'm not saying Josh Allen is a tier below those guys because I have like 5 seasons of Josh Allen being the QB1. And I'm not worried about him going forward. It is less a testament of Josh Allen's taking a step back. I don't think he has. He's just kind of been unlucky, and there's been some game scripts that have been weird. That doesn't freak me out. It's more a testament to Jaden Daniels is absolutely shocking the world, improving. He's legitimate and not going anywhere. And Lamar Jackson is still in MVP form.
Yeah, at the moment, Josh Allen's averaging in 4-point passing touchdown leagues 18.8 fantasy points per game, of course, pending the Monday night result. Jaden Daniels is at 22.7.
Floor. You're seeing floor for Josh Allen is almost 20 points a week. Like, where people are freaking out about Josh Allen, and he's having that's awesome. If like Mark or Kirk Cousins averages 18 points a week, you're like, that's great. I got him off waivers. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, it's expectations are a bit different there, but yes.
Yeah.
What was it?
I think the Mahomes owners would freak out if he got 18 points. That's how bad his season's going.
Mahomes is at 15.4 in 4-point leagues right now. It's not good.
Tough.
Not good in the streets at all. Yeah, I don't have a ton to say here. I think you asked me on Sunday if we need to own up to some things about Zay Flowers. And I know he had 9 catches for 130 yards, but I still don't fully buy it. It depends on what we want to set the bar at. Because in games where they throw the ball, he will be good. But there are games when they won't throw the ball and he will be bad. And it just depends on what you want to expect here. Because here's the games in which they threw the ball. Washington, Cincinnati, and the Vegas Raiders. So like neutral scripts. All 3 of these games are neutral scripts. He had 130
Washington
yards
and
on Sunday.
Cincinnati going to put up points on anybody, so you're going to have to throw to keep up with those guys.
Right, and they lost to Vegas, so there's that one. And let's see here. I don't even have the KC game. Okay, here we go. We got the KC game as well. So in neutral script games, it's 130 yards on Washington, 111 yards on Cincinnati, 90 yards on Vegas, 37 yards but 10 targets against Kansas City. And then there were the 2 blowout games, Buffalo and then Dallas. They were thumping them, and then Dallas made the comeback, and it doesn't look like it was a blowout, but it was. He had 2 targets against Buffalo, 10 yards, 4 targets against Dallas, 20 yards. So it's just like there's going to be games when he does nothing. But in neutral script games, he's good. So it just depends on what our expectations for Zay Flowers are, and that will be how I feel about him.
He's boom bust, but I mean, with the way things have gone for this passing offense, like, he's clearly the top option. So I don't know. We hated his initial price tag of like the 4th round. I think in more that's like that was probably just more appropriate than we thought it was. He's a good flex guy. You can flex him every week.
Yeah, you can feel good.
I don't love him as my wide receiver too, but I do as a flex play.
Yeah, fair. Chargers, Broncos. Chargers won 23-16. Justin Herbert finally got over 200 yards passing.
It wasn't really as close as the score indicates. Like they were pretty much dominating the entire game, and Broncos scored some in garbage time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Chargers were at one point up 23-0, and the Broncos scored 16 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but I mean, the game was well in hand at that point.
Yes. It was all garbage time points to sort of save face on this, and I guess that made it interesting at the end. But
I'm disappointed I benched J.K. Dobbins in the league. And it wasn't a bad bench. Like, I benched him for Deontay Johnson, who was pretty good, but I was expecting him to get bottled up in this game, and he did not.
I was a little concerned that he wasn't going to be awesome, but Gus Edwards goes on IR, and they did not give anybody else the ball. J.K. Dobbins had 25 carries, had the touchdown, had 96 yards.
Kamani Vidal, 40-yard touchdown.
Yep. He had the 40-yard bomb. But, like, I don't know, man. This offense is not very fun for fantasy football. It's literally who's the running back this week, and then that's it.
Yeah.
It's pukey. Like we said with Javonte Williams, he is third in running back targets, which is weird. But he had a fumble Sunday, had 6 carries for 23 yards. They didn't do anything on the ground. It wasn't like somebody else took his job, but Audric Esme had 2 carries. McLaughlin had 3 carries. It's just yucky, pukey, gross from that offense.
Yeah, we don't need to spend any time here. The Broncos offense is what it is. If you got to start a Bronco, you got a problem.
Beautiful. Steelers, Raiders. The Steelers thumped the Raiders.
No, skip.
What are we? We already talked about Najee. He had, well, did we say this off camera? I don't know. He had his best game maybe ever. 14 carries, 100 yards.
Yeah, no, that's...
Who else is there worth talking about here? That's it for the Steelers. Justin Fields was solid for fantasy. Had 2
Justin
rushing
Fields
touchdowns.
is always going to be solid for fantasy. Like, that's
yeah,
rushing quarterback. That's all you got to say.
Yep. Brock Bowers was excellent for the Raiders. Had 10 targets, 9 catches.
So good. So
he
good.
is, dude. He's amazing.
He's everything I hoped Kyle Pitts would be.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I hate to poop on Kyle Pitts, but he is so much better than Kyle Pitts.
Yeah. I don't know what I don't know what you want me to say there. We actually skipped the Falcons game, by the way. We have not talked about that one.
Oh, did we?
Speaking of,
we haven't even gotten to the Falcons game yet.
Well, we're in the 4 o'clock window right now.
Well, yeah, the Falcons game is the last 4 o'clock game on my list here.
Is it? Okay,
yeah.
Maybe I'm dead wrong. I'm so used to the Falcons playing at 1.
Yeah.
Like, Falcons and Panthers is always a 1 o'clock game, so I forgot about that.
I know it. I've got Lions, Cowboys, and then Falcons, Panthers.
Okay, sorry.
The Lions absolutely gobsmacked, destroyed, murdered the Cowboys. Call the cops. Dave Montgomery has 2 touchdowns. Jameson Williams has a touchdown. Sam Laporta has a touchdown. Amon-Ra St. Brown has a touchdown.
Someone on the Cowboys pissed off someone in the Lions staff. Like, they said something about Ben Johnson or Dan Campbell's wife or something, because that was not necessary. That was not necessary. Like, y'all could have just beaten them and moved on. That was intentional, what they just did. That was a message. That was a threat.
It was murder. It was
They were
real
throwing
bad.
fades to offensive tackles. Eric
Yeah.
Decker got a fade in the end zone.
Yeah. And Penei Sewell
Got a hook and ladder.
He had a touchdown called back. Just
That was
murder.
Dan Campbell exerting dominance is what that was. Like, he may as well have peed on Mike McCarthy's car.
Yeah. You know who else got a target in this game?
Who?
the ghost of Allen Robinson.
Allen Robinson. Wow.
I didn't even know,
You know
he was
who-
on the Lions roster.
I was also going to mention Tim Patrick actually getting some
Yeah.
action and playing well. After 2 devastating injuries, it was nice for him to see him get out there.
Yeah. No, this was just a really nice spread the ball around to every single member of this offense.
The sad part from the game is you still can't start Sam Laporta. He had a 50-yard touchdown, and that was his only target. The Lions score 47 points, and he has 1 target.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't start Sam Laporta with any amount of confidence. I mean, he has, what is that, 15 points on 1 play and then nothing else?
Yeah, I could not have. No. About 12 or 13.
12 and a half, 13 points.
I could not have been more wrong. And it wasn't just me. It was most of the fantasy community, like, having Sam Laporta as tight end 1, like, in Dynasty. Like, what did we miss, dude? Like, what went wrong?
This is an egalitarian offense.
Is it
Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown
Is
is
it Jameson
still...
Williams? Is that the problem?
That's part of the problem. But, like, Amon-Ra is not as dominant this year as he was last year. They're just spreading around. And you add Tim
Amon-Ra had
Patrick.
4 targets. That's crazy.
Like, they just have a lot of decent players. Khalif Raymond had 6 targets. Tim Patrick had 70 yards. They're just so efficient. And I think Jameson Williams gets highlights because he still doesn't have a ton of volume, all things considered. He had 4 targets, but he always has a 40-yard touchdown.
I think it's not, I guess, a problem. That's how good David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are, because that truly is the identity of the offense. Is it literally, and it's not a knock on Amon-Ra, but like they just, because they can, that's what they're doing. They're just running it through Gibbs and Montgomery, and that's actually kind of helped the Jameson Williams' success. Is you have to pay attention so much to those running backs that Jameson Williams is just wide open down the field.
They have a dominant run game, and it opens up play action. And I guess their biggest beneficiary has been Jameson Williams, which makes sense. Like, you get that dude in a one-on-one.
He's the deep threat, so line him up on a safety. Go ahead.
Yeah, I dare you. Just watch what happens. So they are, like, the Ravens, I think, might be the best offense in the league, but the Lions are right there.
Today, I would take the Lions offense over the Ravens. Like, I know Lamar is probably a better quarterback than Jared Goff, but in that system with those weapons, there's no comparison. The Lions' weapons are so much better.
I would agree. Yeah. Okay, now we can do the Falcons-Panthers debrief.
Yes.
You take the floor. Where do you want to go here? Because there's a few different ways we can go
I
with
still
this
don't
one.
trust Bijan.
Yeah.
He finally had a breakout game at 24 points. I still don't trust him. Because Tyler Algier had more carries than he did. And I know, like, we were up late, but, like, it's just... It sucks, dude. It sucks. You still start Bijan every week. He's not going to kill you, but he's an RB2 right now. Like, what else can you say? Like, he's an RB2 right now.
Yeah, Algier clearly has standalone value. I think this is like the diet version of the Lions, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs attack. Where
David Montgomery is, like, he's outscoring Bijan.
Yeah. Tyler Algier, let's see here. I don't even, where's Tyler Algier in terms of rankings right now?
That's a good
question. Let me see if
question.
I can find this. Because if I had to guess, he's at probably like RB 24 to 30 range.
It's a little lower than that.
Yeah, he is. He's 37. Okay.
But
well.
it's kind of similar to Brees and Braylon Allen. Like, this is not a knock on Bijan or Brees, because obviously they might be the 2 most talented running backs in the league, along with Saquon Barkley. Like, literally, it's those 3 guys are the most talented running backs in the league. But their offenses are not giving them workhorse loads, and they have a really good running back behind each of them. Braylon Allen starts for probably like 28 teams in the NFL. Maybe not over Derrick Henry, but like he starts pretty much everywhere else. And Tyler Algier would start for a large number of teams in the NFL.
he would certainly start for the Panthers. Or
I don't know.
Or at
Chuba
least-
Hubbard's pretty good.
well, yeah, Chuba Hubbard's good. See, I don't know what to do with Chuba Hubbard, man. He's been excellent. I told you before we hit record, Chuba Hubbard is the RB5 in PPR, which is just wonky, and he's looked like really efficient. It's not like he's just voluming his way, which he is. I mean, he's getting a ton of volume, but
He looks good.
he looks really good with it.
He's
got
explosive.
He's averaging 5.6 yards a carry this year.
Sorry, I just dropped my phone on my computer.
That was deafening.
That was tough. My apologies.
But yeah, no, he's so good, and they just opened up the practice window for Jonathan Brooks, but I'm not so certain that once Jonathan Brooks comes back, Chuba Hubbard kind of loses his role in the offense.
Yeah, no, it's another thing we talked about right before we hit record. It is weird because they do give the nod to this guy with the large, higher draft capital, the perceived better talent, but why would you kill Jonathan Brooks when you bring him back when you've got a guy like Chuba Hubbard who is just killing it? It doesn't make any sense. They did it with James Robinson. Again, I don't know why, but they did. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see what they end up doing. I think Chuba has, at the bare minimum, he has locked himself into a.
So you start him every week. You start him every week until you can't.
For sure. I think I don't know. He's been so good that you start to wonder, like, okay, I love Jonathan Brooks, but he's coming off the ACL. Do they even really need to play Jonathan Brooks all that much? Like, they're going to get...
What do you gain by playing Jonathan Brooks?
Right. I mean, Chuba Hubbard, you're not paying. You have no investment in. So, like, let Chuba Hubbard be good. But if Jonathan Brooks goes out there and, God forbid, gets injured again in a lost season, I don't know, man. I think there's an argument
up to get him in the second round. Like, that just kills you.
I know. Like, I know you want to see your second-round pick contribute, but there is a point where it's like, okay, this is a lost season. We've got a guy that we have no investment in that's about to be a free agent that's carving it up. Let him play his way into a contract for somebody else, and we'll just sort of give Jonathan Brooks 5 touches a week, let him be halfway decent on those, and then get it rolling for next season.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see. I like Jonathan Brooks as well. I'm starting Chuba Hubbard till I can't. That's all I can say, I guess.
Last game here, the Bengals beat the Giants on Sunday Night Football 17-7. It was disgusting.
So boring.
But
I just can I take this time to say Zach Taylor has to be fired. He has to be fired.
it wasn't good.
He's going to. He has these incredible weapons in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. He has one of the top 5 to 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, period. And the offense is predictable. It's boring. It's not creative whatsoever. Like, they line T. Higgins up and Jamar Chase, and they don't try to scheme stuff for them. It's like you have to line up, beat your guy, and there's no quick throws for Joe Burrow. Like, he has to sit there while Brian Burns comes full steam at him and just blasts him in the backfield. Like, this is not a Joe Burrow problem. This is a scheme problem and a coaching problem.
Yeah, and a small part of this too, maybe not small, I don't know, a decent-sized part of this is the fact that the Giants have an excellent defense for what feels like the first time ever.
Oh, yeah, but there's ways to counter that. Besides, like, sending Jamar Chase on a deep route and praying Joe Burrow can stay upright until he gets open.
Which won't happen on this defense. They lead the NFL in sacks.
But, like, there's ways to counter that. Like, scheme something up for Jamar Chase quick. Let him get 15 yards because he's an incredible run-after-the-catch receiver. It just doesn't make sense, man, and it's so frustrating to watch.
Yeah, because you feel like this is a team that needs to score and should score 30 points every single week, and they don't. They have long stretches when they don't have to have it, you know? I mean, in games where they have to have it, and there's that urgency there, they score. But when there's games that there's not we have to score every possession, otherwise we'll lose, they don't. They play down to their competition in a way.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a Zach Taylor problem. He calls very soft plays, and it was another game. It worked out for him this time, but you got the game on the line, you're trying to run out the clock, and they go run, and then Joe Burrow has to make a great play on 3rd and 15 because you lost yards every time you ran the ball to keep the drive going. Is like, I mean, you have one of the highest paid and best quarterbacks in the league. Let him win the game for you. Don't stop taking it out of his hands. They did it last week against the Ravens. They almost did it again this week. Like, he had to bail him out twice. It's infuriating to me. And also, last side note on the Bengals, don't ever tell me Joe Burrow doesn't have rushing upside again. Ever.
Did that have anything to do with the 47-yard touchdown run?
It might. Where he hit 20 miles an hour.
Oh, he was moving.
Boy, he wanted that touchdown. He's like, I'm getting this.
He wanted it real bad, and he got it.
And it turns out they had to have it.
They absolutely had to have it. Oh, man. Tyrone Tracy, I think, for the Giants is somebody worth monitoring. He had, 50 yards rushing and a touchdown. Also 6 catches, 57 yards receiving as well. I don't know if he has stolen the Devin Singletary job, but
Singletary's hurt.
Right. But when Singletary comes back, I'm curious to see what that looks like. But I think Tyrone Tracy has at least made himself look really, really interesting moving forward for fantasy football.
Yeah.
Other than that,
the only takeaway I got from the Giants is Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson kind of do. They're not bad. We're just waiting for Malik Neighbors.
Yes,
that's all we care about. We're just waiting for Malik Neighbors.
Once that game started last night, I turned to Haley and I was like, so the Giants have this really awesome receiver, Malik Neighbors, and he's not playing. And I'm really bummed.
If they have Malik Neighbors, they probably win this game. Seriously.
Yes. I think I agree. Because Daniel Jones, he still looked halfway decent. I mean, he threw a pick.
I'm not going to go as far as say Daniel Jones looked halfway. If you actually watch some of the game film and stuff, the boy, he makes dumb decisions. There were multiple times they had opportunities to win this game. There's wide open receivers and he throws to the guy who's covered. He just makes dumb decisions.
I think he has been so trained to take checkdowns that he doesn't look down the field anymore. And that used to be a thing he did when he was younger. He would look down the field and he would throw stupid balls. And he doesn't do that as much as he used to because he's just checking it down.
To the opposite, to his detriment. Darius Slayton is open 15 yards down the field on 3rd down. Throw it to him. Stop checking it down to Theo Johnson, who's covered.
Now, what it does is, they don't go 3 and out every drive. They still have interesting drives, and so you end up where he throws the ball a ton. He had 41 attempts. So
when it was 10-7 and the Bengals didn't score, the Giants got the ball back late. I'm like, shoot, they're about to win this dang game. Brian Dable's going to scheme this up. They're going to drive down and they're going to win this game.
Yep, and they did not.
I almost wanted them to win the game to get Zach Taylor fired. That's my only goal for the Bengals this season. They're not going to win. They're not going to make the Super Bowl. They're not. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. Zach Taylor. They just got to get Zach Taylor out of there before he gets Joe Burrow killed. Yes,
they need Ben Johnson.
Dude, Ben Johnson is going. If you fire Zach Taylor, Ben Johnson is going to go to the Bengals. He wanted to go somewhere where he knew he would get a second contract. That's one of the things he said. He's like, I'm happy in Detroit. I'm getting to do what I love. We're winning. I'm very happy where I'm at. He's like, I don't want to go somewhere with a question mark and not sure if I'm going to even get a second job after this is over. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins, and you're a brilliant offensive mind, you will get a second contract. I promise you that. So,
Yeah, odds are you'll be fine in the long run. That's it for week 6. Monday night is about to kick off here in a little bit. We'll
be
see what the
watching that.
Brees Hall, Dalton Kincaid situation does to my sanity in the Granddaddy, the Mullen, and Log.
I need 21 points for Josh Allen, from Josh Allen tonight.
That seems pretty safe.
You would think.
You would think. There's no telling.
The Jets are often an Achilles heel for him, for whatever reason.
That is true. That defense has had his number the past couple of years. He's been prone to throw some interceptions.
It's
on the
50-50. Like, knock on wood, he still has yet to throw an interception this year, by the way. Like, that's...
Knock on some wood there.
Yeah, knock on wood, but, like, it's week 6 and Josh Allen hasn't thrown an interception. That's kind of impressive.
It is impressive. It's almost like it's against his nature.
Yeah. But anyway.
He's probably going to throw 2 picks tonight.
Last year he either... I think he scored like 6 points against the Jets, and then like the second game he played him, he had like 30. So you never know.
You never know. That will do it from us. We will see you all in the next episode of the week, the Dynasty Dive with Landon and Ben. Have a good one, everybody.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. Have a good one, everybody.